Hey everyone, welcome back to The Word on the Street. My name is Chloe and I'm here with Benjamin.
What's going on, guys?
And Cokin.
What's good?
And today we'll be talking about social anxiety, also known as social phobia, which is a long-term fear of social situations. Social anxiety visually shows itself up during the teenage years. And many people that suffer from social anxiety actually have other mental health issues such as depression, panic disorder, and general anxiety disorder. Now, the people that have social anxiety usually have hyperactivity in a part of their brain known as the amygdala, which means that they take on social reactions and they interpret social reactions as a threat. And some of the symptoms of social anxiety are they get sweaty, they worry about, the people with social anxiety will worry about social situations before, during, and after. They will have heart palpitations, they will start to mumble, they will start to tremble as well, which is usually what happens when they are within social situations. And the other thing is like they don't really want to mingle with strangers as well. They avoid that as much as possible. Now, looking at those symptoms, do you resonate with any of these symptoms at all?
Personally, I wouldn't say, well, in recent times, I'm not sure if I would say that I resonate with any of the symptoms. In fact, I do get nervous sometimes, but I wouldn't say that I get nervous due to social anxiety or any sort of anxiety, even though if it's minimalistic, I wouldn't say that. But my sister has mentioned before that she has some sort of anxiety, and in general terms, she gets really stressed, and you can visually tell how it's affecting her. But most of the times, from friends I've spoken to, social anxiety is not something that you can really just pick up on immediately. Some people may come out as quiet, some people may come out as loud, but you can't really tell which one of them is socially anxious. And for some, they only discover that like when they go to uni, they go to a different environment. But yeah, I've read a lot of things on Reddit as well. Reddit has so many stories. I thought, wow, I don't know how these people manage to get through these things.
Yeah, because it does really affect your day-to-day life. What do you think, Cokin?
Yeah, in terms of some of the things you mentioned, like sweatiness and trembling, I had an experience when I was at uni, when we were giving presentations. So I'm not normally the nervous type when it comes to presentation, but I was with my friend he's not necessarily a quiet person. He was kind of like, he was socialized, but you'd say he was slightly reserved. So we're giving a presentation and it was kind of me and him giving a presentation. So I done mine. It's kind of like a 5-minute presentation, kind of, okay, say my part. And then I was like, okay, it's time to say his part. So as I started saying his part, I kind of just zoned out and kind of tuned off because I was like, I know what he's going to say. But as he's talking, at the corner of my eye, I kind of see like a droplet of water. And I'm like, oh, it's not raining outside. So I start looking around and then I look at the top. I'm like, it's not raining. So when I look at my friend who's giving the presentation, he's covered in sweat. Like it was like as if he just ran a marathon, like sweat was coming down. Then whatever part of his body, I'm pretty sure there was sweat there at the moment. But I kind of looked at that situation and I was just like, I didn't really know he was this nervous when it came to giving presentation because I talked to him a lot of times and we kind of communicated, talked, and it just kind of dawned on me on that day, in that moment, that he giving presentations and kind of talking in big crowds like that was just not his thing. So I could say in that moment, he was probably socially anxious about what he's doing at that moment. So that's kind of my experience with that in terms of the sweaty palm, kind of sweating symptom as well.
Yeah.
But
have you guys individually experienced any social anxiety at all?
Okay, so normally people think I come across as a confident person. So that's something I've had all my life. And the thing is, and I agree with them that I am confident in certain things that I believe I can do, right? But I feel like when you're confident as well, if you meet something that challenges your confidence and then your confidence goes down, then it can affect you in terms of like social anxiety, in terms of getting anxiety and social anxiety, even if it's just temporary. If I can give an example, so growing up, and my parents always told me, work hard in school and do your best, and later on you'll reap the rewards of it when you get older. So I used to think to myself that I'm a smart person. I used to believe like, oh, that God had given me a great brain.
Smart person, yeah, I can
I'm
think,
sure God
yeah.
has given you a great brain.
I used to believe that. But when I moved to the UK,
You used to believe it, or you still believe it now?
I still believe it. But when I moved to the UK, there was one thing that I really struggled with. Like, obviously, English is not even I wouldn't even say it's even my second language. Maybe third language.
Yeah,
The third-
bilingual.
yeah.
Yes, smartest person.
But it's not even the second language I learned. It's probably it's the third or fourth language I learned. Other languages I've forgotten them. But when I got into higher English, there was close reading that I just, for some reason, I just struggled with. I struggled with it, and every time the teacher would ask a question, even though I knew the answer, I was afraid to give the answer because I didn't want to feel like there's nothing
Like
wrong
you
with
can't
giving-
speak properly
Yeah.
or you feel inadequate.
I don't want to feel like in front of my classmates, especially, I'm going to be honest, I was the only black person in my class.
Yeah.
I was the only black person in my class. So I felt like if I gave the wrong answer and everything else, and even in my prelims, I didn't do well in my close reading section of my English exam. And I was thinking to myself, oh, these people must think I'm like
The dumbest
a
person.
dumb person. And every time they ask questions, textual answer, I just didn't give them answers, even though I knew the answer, because after all this, my confidence had been dented to such a degree that I was like, maybe I'm not as smart as I thought I was. Maybe I'm just not good at English.
You got humbled.
Yeah, I got humbled. And
Yeah.
and getting to uni, I knew I really need to do well in English. I needed to do well. So that for that year, every time I went to English class, I was like, my heart was racing.
Yeah.
I was sweaty palms because of that. I was thinking to myself, in my mind, I was like this: if I do not do well here, it's
That's
over.
it.
It's
Yeah.
all over.
Yeah, because one of the symptoms for social anxiety as well, for those that may suffer from it, is that you have a fear of being embarrassed and you have a fear of other people's reactions. So you're afraid of how other people will react to the things that you do. So before that, even if they may react, in your mind, you just kind of amplify everything. So sometimes it may not necessarily seem as that particular thing, but in your mind, it's like such a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's what usually happens. And once that continues and goes on, you no longer want to associate yourself with being the center of attention or having as much attention on you. You'd rather draw yourself in the background than actually put yourself at the forefront.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think with that one, I can kind of had similar experience like that. As Benji was saying, well, English is not all our first languages. And when I just came to the UK, I must have been like, 10, 11, or somewhere there. 9-ish. But I was in high school, and as fresh as I can be, I probably still have my accent right now, but
You definitely do. Some of it.
I felt at that time, being that young and going into a new environment, I didn't really speak that much because I was afraid people would make fun of my accent, because it is something that was made fun of before. So I always kind of try to speak as minimal as possible, because I struggle to say certain words. I still do, like if it has lots of S's and R's, I'll avoid that word completely in a sentence. So I may start a sentence with that word and just change to a completely different one. It won't make sense. So I really struggled with that, because to me, in my head, as it says, you end up to amplify certain situations. I'll think that if I say it, people are laughing at me, or if there's someone who stare at me a certain way, I'll take that like, oh, they're judging me, they're making fun of me, they're gonna go and talk about me or something, how I messed up this way. And it was kind of a shame, because when I was in certain social groups and settings, I would not talk, because I'll be afraid of someone making fun of me. Because it did happen. I would say, you'll be talking to friends and you're laughing, and then you say something, and all of a sudden they're laughing at you because of what you said, and then they say this, and then you're like, I can't say it, and then they'll continue laughing. So that made me even retract more in kind of my conversation, because I don't want to be made fun of. No one wants to be made fun of in front of, no one wants to be the punchline of a joke. So something that's constant, and that really did mess with my confidence in terms of interacting, and it took so many years for me to build up the confidence and embrace who I am. I'm like, this is my accent, this is me. And if someone was to make fun of me now about it, it wouldn't really bother me as much, since I've kind of manage to build up my confidence to that level. But then it would kind of put me back down, and I would stop talking in groups. I'll stop, volunteering to do things on like a stage or whatever kind of sort of thing. So it was kind of sad at the time, but it made me think that with the people you interact with, you need to be aware. You may not be aware of their mental state or kind of what makes them anxious and what they're struggling with. So you need to be very careful with your words, or you may lead someone the wrong way.
Definitely.
That's so true, because I think it is important that we are aware of the people that are around us. I know sometimes I keep on hearing people saying that, whether you may like it or not, you are the most selfish person you meet. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to it, everything comes back to you. It's how you feel, how you think. It's my opinion. I can say what I want, that kind of thing. Like, it's not gonna hurt you anyway. I was just saying, it's all banter. Don't worry about it. Everything now is just banter. You say something rude to someone, it's just banter, don't worry. And you expect them to let it go, but that's not what happens. And sometimes, based on the things that you say, you can start encouraging certain issues to sort of like build up in somebody without you even noticing. And you're so unaware of that, but because you're just enjoying your life, you're enjoying yourself and the situation, and you're making fun of somebody. Whereas for me, I think the situation is kind of similar, was in school. When also moved here to Scotland, I moved to a school in Paisley, and there are not a lot of black people in the school. But obviously, not only that, on top of that, you stand out like a sore thumb. One, it was your hair. The first time I wore my hair natural in school, I got called a lion. No lie, I relaxed it the following week. Instead, I just felt so embarrassed. I just didn't want to turn up in school with my hair like that, like genuinely. That's how I started relaxing my hair. I just could not turn up. I could not think of the next 6-7 years in school with people saying comments like that. So I was just like, no, I'm relaxing my hair.
You didn't want to be Mufasa.
No, I didn't want to be Mufasa, no. So I had to relax my hair, and I was always anxious like the whole week with my hair out. I just didn't want to go to class because I knew people would say something. And then the other ones, like PE. People loved PE, but I hated PE.
Oh, I love sports, but
PE was the worst thing, was the worst experience. So I remember playing dodgeball was my first time playing dodgeball. Dodgeball is something else in Uganda. Dodgeball is known what the dodgeball is here. So with the dodgeball here, I was like two people on different sides of the room, and you're playing with the ball. And obviously you try and hit as many people out as possible. And the last person on the team, you then try to run. And with the game, we had to run at the end and try to hit the ball on the wall. If the ball got caught, then you're out. Your whole team has lost. But if you manage to hit the ball on the wall, then your team has won. That's how they did the game in high school. So I didn't know the rules properly. I go in, I'm super excited, new game. You're a kid, you just want to have fun. I got there, got the ball. We were playing, throwing balls, and I was like, wow, I can see a gap there. I'm sure I can run, because I was a fast runner. I'm sure I can run. I won't get hit, and I'll hit the ball at the end. So not knowing the rules properly, I grabbed this ball with all the confidence that I had. Literally, I was running. I was like, yeah, running. And I hit the ball at the end of the wall on the other side. And literally everybody just stopped and looked at me like, what the heck is she doing? Because my team was still there, and I played the game wrong, because you had to be the last person in the team. And in that moment, literally people started laughing. So now imagine yourself in this gym room, standing there with everybody laughing at you because you did something wrong. And instantly after that moment, I disliked PE. Even just going in, I didn't like people picking me as their teammate, because obviously people are picking teams. They want the best players, people that know the game. You're going to be the last person to get picked. So that already is horrible. So I would be late for PE to avoid being picked last, so the show just put me whatever team that is available. And I would avoid having to play games, group games. I would avoid group games at all. Like, I didn't want to involve myself in that. And I was always anxious whenever we had to do PE. I really disliked it. So for me, that was my experience. But thank God later on in life, I managed to overcome certain things, and I built my confidence in just, learning who I was and embracing myself.
And you learned how to play dodgeball.
And I learned to play dodgeball. If I think back, that's probably the most embarrassing moment of my life. I've never had anybody or a group of people laugh at me the way they did in school. Literally, I think that affected me so much that even now when I do something wrong and somebody laughs at me, I feel like I feel a certain type of way. I just feel agitated by it. So yeah, so thinking about that as well, like when you think about the Bible and Bible characters that actually suffered from social anxiety, what kind of characters do you think of?
Yeah, for me, my favorite character, Moses. I've been a fan of Moses for a long time. He's, you know how people are a fan of Messi and Ronaldo. I'm a fan of Moses here. So I really love him. He's my favorite character in the Bible. And I was thinking, and all my life I've always been thinking how he made excuses. Like, we see them as excuses, and that's how most films and everything else portray them, as excuses. But when Moses was asked to go to Egypt and talk to the Pharaoh to let his people go, he told God that, yeah, I cannot do it. Can you send somebody else? I cannot speak. The reality of it is that he was feeling some sort of anxiety. And when somebody has anxiety or social anxiety talking in front of people and so on, they feel afraid of him being embarrassed, like you said, or they feel inferior. Inferior, so they're worried about saying something that may make them look inferior than others. And in themselves, they probably feel inferior. And Moses, in that instance, he felt inferior. He said, I can't speak. Send somebody else, thinking that every other person in the world is better than him. And you know, when people are feeling these emotions, we tend to say, man up.
Yeah.
Or we try to overly, what do you call it, care for them and tell them everything is going to be okay. We try to reassure them, and sometimes that reassurance can be too much.
We're telling them, like, no, don't be shy, come on, you can do it.
But God, God does here, the thing I like the most, God doesn't do any of those things. He tells them, I'm going to be there with you. And that's the important thing about when people are suffering from social anxiety and other mental health issues, is that to let them know that you'll be there with them, walking side by side with them. And the beauty about thing, God slowly led Moses and was there with him. And God being there with him allowed Moses to develop as a person and to overcome the fears, his social anxiety.
Yeah.
He had Aaron to speak to him, to help him. Towards the end, Moses was the one speaking for himself.
Yeah.
And the Bible says no greater leader ever rose from Israel other than after Moses. And that just comes around from God. I know we're not God, but the example here is that be there for somebody. You may not be able to do things for them, but you can guide them and be there for them and walk the journey with them, and that will help build them up as well.
Yeah. I kind of like that, because it's almost you're saying how God, like you're saying, God built him, but he didn't necessarily tell him in that moment, oh, come on, you do this. I've done this for you. When you're in the desert, I helped you. I spoke to you through a burning bush. Come on, you have to do this. God did not force him to become something that he's not, but he made him believe in himself, in a sense. Like, he made him believe that, you know what, yes, I can do this, because somebody else believes in the fact that I'm able to speak. I'm able to speak to a whole pharaoh, to a whole king. Then yes, I'm able to go ahead and do the specific thing, which is really nice, rather than actually telling them that, no, you can't, come on, and forcing them. You know what I mean? Like, it's very important that we carry people, like, they are almost like eggs, and once they drop, they will shatter almost. Yeah. So you're very, very careful on how you speak, how you interact, and how you encourage this person to do that thing. That you're not forcing or projecting your views on them, but you're getting them to understand themselves and the fact that they have the energy and the power in them to overcome the situation and be that. That's really beautiful.
I think that's quite good, because you can learn a lot from the Moses story and how his character grew over time. And I like how God did not force him to change, like kind of like you're changed now.
I'll give you 5 minutes. You need to
change. He walked with him throughout the entire journey, and at every step he was building him up. He was kind of elevating him in every aspect of his life. And that's kind of goes as you guys have already mentioned, that if you know someone that has this kind of social anxiety, the best thing you can do is be there for them and kind of tell them that maybe the thoughts they're having in their head is like it's unrealistic. Because sometimes when you have social anxiety, those thoughts kind of overtake the reality of things. Like, someone may start anything and you could overthink it completely. So
I've been there. Overthinking.
That's pretty much one of the things. And I like a verse from Ecclesiastes. I can't even say it. Accent again. Ecclesiastes. The verse is from the Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Yeah, I think it's verse 21, and it talks about how you shouldn't take to heart what people say. So if you are struggling with social anxiety and all and kind of the feelings that come with it, it's always good to take a step back and analyze your situation and kind of say, am I overthinking this here? Like, are they laughing at me, or am I just, overthinking? They could just be kind of, laughing together. We make jokes about me, about them, make jokes about themselves as well. So am I overthinking this situation? So it's always good to kind of take your step back, think about the situation and whether you're overreacting or whether, and kind of try and process it and not take to heart everything that everyone says, because we live in a world that's full of sin, and not everything that someone will say is going to necessarily build you up, and they're not looking sometimes to build you up either. So you need to kind of try and process what people are saying and kind of, as the best way to pick and choose, I guess. If something is good for you, you take it up and you use it to build yourself up. If it's something negative, you put it to the side and move on and try to move on and try not to focus so much on it. But that's what will be kind of what helped me anyways, kind of focus on the good parts and kind of ignore the bad parts and try to not overthink situations.
I like that bit of advice that you've given there, and it's important for us to remember that people will say whatever they say in whatever situation, and you understanding that you are an individual and other people cannot portray their opinions of you on you. Like one person can have an opinion, but the opinion is not your reality. And you understand that, yes, that's what they think of me, but I also draw my own path. I have the ability and the power to choose who I want to be, what I want to be, and where I stand as a person. And looking at that as well with that sense of advice, is there any other advice that you would give to somebody else that is suffering from social anxiety? Also looking at the story of Moses and how God led him, and how it is important for us to walk with people, not forcing them into situations, but walking with them, understanding why do you behave the way you behave, and what brought you where you are, and what can I do as a person to walk with you instead of pulling you along, and that's what is important, because sometimes we tend to pull people instead of leading them, right? So what other advice would you give to somebody that is suffering from social anxiety, that is struggling to find their voice, even when they want to speak, they can't speak out? People who draw back and they literally just go into themselves and into their heads, and they just kind of cocoon themselves there. How exactly would you help that person build the confidence to come out and, be who they are, or who God chose them to be?
I think the important thing is, and I'm going to say it right in front of the camera and look directly at the camera, the important thing is that we need to be there for one another. And I think there's this saying that says you never know what's going on with people behind closed doors. People can seem normal in everyday life, or in your sense, there's no such thing as being normal. That's just a word we use to describe certain things that are common in society. But normality doesn't really exist. But I would say people encourage people and be with them and walk with them. If you feel somebody is in, let's say, in a social situation, they're not speaking, maybe they just want a one-on-one. Start with a one-on-one situation and help them, guide them into that social, and then they will start speaking in front of the whole group. But I think one of the most important things, especially as ethnic minorities, and I think it's important that if we have problems like this, like social anxiety, that we go to like therapists, professionals that can help us and guide us.
Because within a lot of like ethnic minority groups, they think therapy is a sense of weakness. Like nobody wants to go to a therapist. They just look at it as, why would I waste my money and my time talking to somebody, And it is important, like not even just young people in general. They would not go out of their way to go speak to somebody else, to go seek help, which is unfortunate for a lot of young people. That's why you find like there's a lot of like mental health issues, and it's growing a lot more within younger.
And I think with a therapist is one of the main things is like, I know you can talk to your friend, but your friend can't be fully impartial, if that makes sense, or your family members can't be fully impartial, so that their love for you may make them try to push you to do something because they want you to recover as much as possible. But therapists will go step by step and try to find out what things trigger your anxiety attacks, what things make you not want to be in social situations, and then they'll try and work with them bit by bit, just like God.
With Moses.
They'll put you, they'll help you overcome certain situations, small situations, bit by bit. If you need a helper, they'll give you some help, just like God gave Moses Aaron. And over time, and these are things, they take time. You'll see that you get better and better. And I've seen examples of this happening, but sometimes it just takes the courage to think to myself, look, I have a problem. I can't do it by myself.
I need help.
Let me speak to somebody, my friends, but also go to seek professional help to see if they can guide me and help me to overcome these things.
Yeah. Just on that, it reminds me of a verse from Philippians. I read here, Philippians chapter 4, verse 6, which says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God." And I love this verse because based on what you both were saying, it is important for us to pray and trust in God. And the fact that, with the story with Moses and how God was walking with Moses through everything, God wants us to also pray to him no matter what. So when we are anxious, when we go to him, he wants us to pour our hearts out to him. And I like the fact that saying, with prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, don't forget to thank God for the things that you have, because I believe that in the moment when you're praying and you're complaining, oh, this and this is happening, and to be fair, that's your reality, that's what's going on right now. But the moment you learn how to be thankful, it's almost like you open up yourself to other possibilities, to other things. You get to see that, wow, my situation, though it's very dire, I'm still alive and I'm able to deal with this. I'm thankful that I have this, I have that. So the moment you learn how to be more and more thankful in situations, I feel like it will be much easier for you to overcome certain things because you can see your way out almost. So for me, this verse is such a beautiful verse, and it is a reminder that no matter where we are in life and no matter what we do in life, no matter how anxious we feel, no matter what we are struggling with, God is able to pick us up and walk with us on the journey to heal ourselves and become the people that God wants us to become. So I hope that's a small message that you can take away with you. Don't forget that in the description that will be on the video, we'll have all the links to all the different groups. So if you know that you suffer from social anxiety, or you have a friend or family or a loved one that suffers from social anxiety, you'll find all the links to all the groups within the UK that you can go to and seek help no matter what. But also don't forget that God, you don't have to take time out to pray to God. Wherever you are, always, God is there listening. You don't have to make an appointment. You don't have to pay for anything as well on top of that. So I think it is important for us to learn that it's okay to seek help, like you said. And that's where it begins. I want to thank Kokin and Benjamin for joining us and giving us a bit of your insight. And thank you for sharing your stories as well.
And before we go, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you.